Welcome. Um, I've been wanting to commit to a practice of recording some videos, um, and with a twofold purpose of one, serving myself in learning and teaching about a subject that I'm really passionate about, which is the tarot, and two, to get comfortable with being exposed um, visibly and sharing my truth, so emotionally as well. So thank you so much for being a part of that here today. And I'm just going to start by initiating the sacred space with some sage. Bringing some of the fire element into this session. Fire element is all about being seen, as fire is it's visible, right? It's attractive in that, you can't help but look at it. To not look at it is actually dangerous because of its power and its strength. So I've been having a fire practice, where outside, in my garden, I burn. And, because fire is also very purifying, because, it needs this fuel source. And so whatever is, it burns away and just brings the essentials, like, so when you're burning wood, I mean, it's bringing back, it's to carbon, like the very fundamental, essential elements, elemental form. And whatever else is not, just pure is burned away. So it's a really beautiful element, and I really enjoy working with the elements, especially like in their physical form, to understand them and to embody them, not just in a mental space, but experientially as I absorb and bring in those qualities and practices. I actually build a relationship, which is also very much related to the fire element, is because fire needs a fuel source. It connects to the number 2. So, and anytime you have two things, there is a relationship, a flow and a harmony and a balance between those two entities or forces. So thank you so much, Sage, for blessing us with your presence here today, for purifying and cleansing this space, bringing us this heavenly scent. So sage is actually the plant that is connected to the Hierophant card in the tarot, which I pulled today. And this is a really cool deck that I love, by this Japanese artist, Amano. Ooh, there we go. And as you see, he's got 2 little men that he's working with. The Hierophant is the card in the tarot that has everything to do with learning and teaching. So I find that really special that, that was the very first card. And that's kind of, of course, how magic and tarot works, right? Is it's just, there it is. Like, this was, my first the first video, and those were my intentions, and then I pulled that card. So it also has to do with religion or a spiritual practice. You know, religion, I think nowadays is getting a bad rap. And that is unfortunate because just the actual definition of a religion, to be religious, is something that we devote ourselves to. It's something that we do every day. So it's a spiritual practice, and but nowadays the connotation with religion is a diehard, maybe even closed-minded type of being a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim or something like that. But yes, those are religions, but meaning those are just practices. So and isn't that so interesting? Because this card relates to Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is a fire sign, and and that's part of the high and the low side of Sagittarius, is to have this higher mind, this vision, this understanding for truth and the cosmologies, religions and divine order. It's also associated with the legal system. So there's a very type of fixedness, even though it's it's a fire sign, which is very there's control. There's an element of control that fire has and needs to have. It's just part of the element. And so just as long as we don't allow that control to keep us too rigid, that's one of the lower sides of Sagittarius, is being so close-minded, or fixed rather, on, thinking its way is the right way. There's like this very judgmental, preachy type quality that it, can manifest when we forget that, or when we're too much in our ego, and so the gift then is to be able to, and this is, I think, Jupiter, is the ruler of Sagittarius, and, and also the classical ruler of Pisces. And that's the gift that Jupiter brings, is when we take ourselves, our ego, our attachment to who we think we are, out of the picture, then we can actually see, and we have this panoramic view of everything, this vision, and in Chinese medicine, this is, this corresponds to the wood element. It's funny that we need fire, like wood is, the Chinese medicine system, we work with 5 elements, water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, and with, in astrology, there's the 4 elements of water, earth, air, and, what's the other one I'm missing? Fire. Yeah. So, so that's in Chinese medicine, the wood element, kind of has a lot of fire, as well. There's a kind of like a crossover there. So, and it's the wood element in our lives that allows us to be creative, and to deliver energy in the body. Actually, it's related to plants. That's why it's called the wood energy, plants, the green color. And it is what takes us. It's like when you have a plant, it's that energy of dynamism that needs to reach up from the darkness, when it's a seed under the soil, and it's just that seed, and it has to reach up and grow up towards the light. And that is the quality that is present here in this card, is, as we have a daily ritual practice of reaching up towards the light, towards the heavenly knowledge, the divine wisdom, and we bring that into our heart, and that's the fire, where we hold fire in our bodies in the heart, and then from here we share that out, with the world. And so sage, part of of what sage does when we use it as an herb, it also, when you drink it, not as opposed to burning it, but if you were to make a tea with sage, it goes to the blood in the body and really works with the liver and cleansing the liver and rheumatism, and also especially for women, the menstrual cycle. And it's used a lot of times to bring on a period. If your period is late, or you've got lots of cramping, it will literally thin out the blood. A lot of times it's also used after childbirth. Um, um, in helping with kind of getting the uterus to contract, and come back into its shape after it's been expanded, holding this new life. And that's also a lot of what the wood element does is it's new life, it's new beginnings. It's a seed, and it's growing and it's saying, I want to experience something new. I want an adventure. Yeah. And so this is the gift that, and these are this is how kind of correspond, because everything in life is energy, right? So, we can bring the energy of the Hierophant and of the liver into our life via, all of these different things, via sage, the visualization with the Hierophant card, also the scent associated with the Hierophant is vanilla, the sweet fragrance of vanilla. So working with that, and vanilla is actually, it's so interesting. Right now, they're having a problem with vanilla, the world market. It's super, super expensive. Many companies, part of what I do is I create botanical perfumes that to invoke goddess energy, different archetypes. For example, like the Hierophant is an archetype, the archetype of a religious person, and again, religious meaning some path of devotion, of a spiritual practice they're devoted to. And astrology. So vanilla has been really hard to come by lately. And I think that that's quite interesting, especially as, what's going on right now is planetary-wise, the planet Saturn has been in Sagittarius, for the past year. And so there's an element of responsibility and even a tightening, of this Sagittarian energy, getting very structured and contained and real about Sagittarian energy, mastering it in some way. And Sagittarius energy can be so abundant. It's big and expansive and over the top, in a kind of way. And Saturn, in Sagittarius comes in and says, okay, it's wonderful that we have all this growth and expansion, but is that sustainable? And I think with America, and definitely in America, like there is this very like abundance and richness, and we're so blessed in this country, the opportunities and the gifts, and like there's so much, right? And we're learning, like, and I think so many of the things we've been experiencing, with the hurricanes, with the fires, with these tragedies, the shooting is we really are getting to bring some seriousness into when we lose a home, or when we lose, our electricity and all of these, these things that we take for granted nowadays, like being in society and in this culture, and then we don't have it. It's like, wow, like, is my lifestyle sustainable? Is this overly rich and abundant lifestyle, like, like really we are so blessed, compared to other countries around the world, that get by with much less than what we have. And, and even looking at our leaders too. And because Sagittarius is a sign of, of leadership as well, right? So